To do that, we need to know how we get more creators to step inside of environmental content creation. And the question is, how do we take our first steps into this new field of content creation?
So if you're starting off, I think it depends like how you wanna address it right away. Like, is it something serious or is it something that you just want to do as a hobby? Like, and all these things depends on your age and where you are, if you're still in school, all these things. I think just start is simple, is to outline the topics that you are the most passionate about. What are the conversations that you're having with your friends? Like, is it wildlife, renewable energy, plastic, whatever. You just make a list. You pick the form, the most interesting form for you of content. Is it videos? Is it photos? Is it text? And basically start outlining into this direction. Then you pick a platform that resonates with you depending on this form of content. So there's so many right now, so many different ways how you can spread the word, and not necessarily through social media. It can also be if you're an illustrator creating a book, um, writing something, like writing proposals. There's so many different ways how you can do it, and you can still use social media to advertise your work, to share what you're doing and things like that. It's really about doing, but we can't do it alone. So it is about finding this community of people that are doing similar thing. Because when I was starting, I was figuring it out myself, and I really don't see the point of doing this anymore for other people. Like, there are answers out there, you just have to find people that will give it to you. And building your portfolio, this is like the first tips that I give to people. And your portfolio not necessarily is like paid collabs or paid brand work. Is perhaps a video of about environmental organization that you visited or you're passionate about, and you use like a green screen and an explainer, and you did it, and here you go. This is already your step into this. You can show it to the brand, they might be interested to recreate something similar. It's starting as community, and it's putting yourself out there, actually putting this content out there. Because a lot of us creators, let me know if you resonate, like, I love creating content, I don't necessarily love like putting it out there, and like all the steps that are involved is daunting. And then like answering comments and all of that, and people might not like it, or you might get or not get these likes. Like, it's so frustrating. It's all personal work. You're putting yourself out there, if that's your choice. If, of course, you are not using yourself as a persona, that's a different thing. But it's a lot of personal work. And in my group at Behind the Greens, I offer a lot of support to these young creators that are putting themselves out there, and they have a lot of struggles that, oh, I said something wrong, or I'm not good enough, or this is not good enough, or this could be better. My encouragement is, let's freaking go. Let's just continue. Like, we, want to see my video like 10 years ago? Shit, we just have to keep it up. We also have sponsored spots. So we have brands that are looking for creators that will become their ambassadors. And this is something that I push for when we work with brands, is to look out not just for creators, but for ambassadors, for people that would resonate long term with your vision. And it's a very separate and different relationship and mindset, but it's something that we're trying to cultivate here. So in person, we collaborate with environmental initiatives. We bring people and we travel from one to another. We create content, and we have workshops about everything: creative storytelling, content creation, social media, marketing, presentation, how to conduct interviews, trends, virality, editing, even AI. On the last workshop, we were talking about AI, using all the new creative tools. And there's homework, people practice. We push them more outside of their creative boundaries. And it's like a boot camp. And I'm super excited because it's this energy. I just remember the sessions are live. We don't do like pre-recordings because it's all about the energy, the real presence and the energy, and this just like imagine 35 environmental creators are meeting together with a goal of like learning something new about the content and then going out there making a difference. That's powerful. So we start small. We start with the shortest form content possible. Let's say, how do we write 2 lines of the text that would interest someone to read this article? Or how would you summarize this like 3 paragraphs of this research into something short that can also be a hook for the video? So we start there and then we expand. Okay, how can we create a 10-second reel that would intrigue someone to read the caption or something else, and then longer.
I think kind of a universal rule that I like to stick to, but it's probably more relevant to long form than short form. You can make something, but not necessarily release it. So if it's the first time you're making something and you're like, I want to test this out, but I don't want to embarrass myself or I'm self-conscious, or it's like kind of like the idea of like vlogging in public. Like it's like that's a weird thing to do. Like if you're hitting those walls, instead of having that stop you from doing it, make something small and then don't release it. Just keep it for yourself. Use it as like a reference for something else you want to make in the future, or maybe keep it in an archive so down the line, whenever you are releasing content, you can pull from it. But this idea of like, oh, I'm going to work with this organization that's local, but I don't really know what I'm doing and I don't want to like make them look bad. Give them the footage and edit something together and just use that as a test run. Like you don't have to take it as seriously as you think you do.
Kind of like the first version of this episode today, which we fucked up
Absolutely.
yesterday,
Absolutely.
and now we're redoing it again.
Right. Well, no, and that's the whole thing.
You
It's
live, you learn.
yeah, no, and that's the whole thing. It's like you don't like just because you're making something doesn't mean you have to make it perfect, and it doesn't mean that anybody else has to see it. Sometimes just you making it for yourself is all you need to start realizing, oh, this is what I can do differently, this is what I can change, and that sometimes gets the ball rolling versus making a thing, putting it out there, and now you're like, oh my God,
At a point, you do have to make the decision to put it out if you want to reach an audience,
totally.
but that doesn't mean you cannot start from like within the safety of your own bubble.
Right.
If you're just starting out and you have no knowledge about content creation, that is the safest thing to do. Usually when I do workshops, I say like the 50 first videos that you make, think about them as throwaway cards. Like you're not going to be using it. You can use them, but like you're just learning so much things, so many new skills, that don't think of them as finished pieces. Think of them as learning curves. And then once you get to these other stages, that's when you start learning, adapting to something new that you can integrate into your next video. And every video you create or every piece of content you create becomes a better version of what you did last time.
Totally.
And then you get quotes like those videos from 10 years ago, man.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's like you have to make those videos from 10 years ago in order to get where you're going to be. And just one thing I will say is if you do make something and you don't post it anywhere, show it to friends and show it to family. Like show somebody. You don't have to necessarily post the first thing you make, but show it to people and get feedback. And that's sort of like its own little mini comment section basically, but in a controlled environment. So,
I love that.
yeah. In a couple years, we'll just tell Chat GPT to make videos for us.
Oof. Yeah, let's not open that can of worms. We're not ready there
We're
for
not
that
ready.
yet. Actually, talking about that is a great segue, because what does the future look like for eco creators? It's something that I talked about with Marguerite as well. So like eco creators, climate creators, where are we heading? And she had some, I might say, really interesting thoughts.